Sir, if I could, Captain Carter Ryan told me he was going to go out and find us killers, find us men prepared to die. But I smell the Christian on some of them, sir. I can smell it, sir. I can smell it. And I promise you, sir, I will not fail you over one problem. I'm going to find the cowardice in this group of men. I'm going to cut them so they never stand next to the priest of God. So they never go to camp with a man who is willing to die. I'm going to make you drop out of Hebrew Academy. It's going to happen. It's going to outbreak Jordan. I can promise you that you'll graduate. I can promise you you'll get your Hebrew Academy covered. But I can promise you a season of pain like you have never known in your life. And I'm going to promise you that. And I'm going to cut you from Hebrew Academy. I might cut some of you tonight to make sure that you never find a way to stand next to a man who's willing to die. You want no cowards in our camp, that would let their colors fly. We want no cowards in our camp, only men prepared to die.
Shalom, Israel. It's that time again. The ISUPK Commanding General Yahana presents the Lord's 57th Annual Passover. That's right, the Lord's 57th Annual Passover, April 4th, 2026 in Houston, Texas. All Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans are commanded to observe the Lord's Passover. This will be the biggest Passover to date. You do not want to miss this. Fresh lamb, fresh wine, and bitter herbs as commanded by the Most High. Only $200 per person ages 17 and up. The biggest event of the year. There is only one Passover, and it's under Commanding General Yahana. See you there, Israel. Shalom.
Nobody else there to compare to. Train for war, men of war, and warlike apparel. Prefer our leaders, can't get between us. Watch.
Shalom, Israel. It's that time again. The ISUPK under Commanding General Yahana presents the Lord's 57th Annual Passover. That's right, the Lord's 57th Annual Passover, April 4th, 2026 in Houston, Texas. All Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans are commanded to observe the Lord's Passover. This will be the biggest Passover to date. You do not want to miss this. Fresh lamb, fresh wine, and bitter herbs as commanded by the Most High. Only $200 per person ages 17 and up. The biggest of the year. There is only one Passover. And warlike apparel. Prefer our leaders can get between us. Shalom, Israel. It's that time again. The ISUPK under Commanding General Yahana presents the Lord's 57th Annual Passover.
All right, this is Rooted Speech, man. We got Captain Tywar in the building. Yeah. So, Cap, man, let us know where you from.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man, on Rooted Speech, man. I'll break it down right quick, though.
Don't forget it. One West in my brain, one West in my heart, one West when I finish, one West when I start. Big shine, big glow. I be gone till November, let my bitch know. I'm back by the window, bubbling like Crisco. I need my pockets all swollen like a lymph node. Talking out the side of your neck, get you a slit throat. I stay broke, don't care if I got $1 million. Looking down on me, I put your brains on the ceiling. Fuck kicking down the door, we bout to demo the building. Fake cats all in these groups, I wonder who ya. Shoot ya, off the pulpit, hallelujah. 4-pound gun youngin' down like it's a cougar. On my feet, combat boots, or is it Puma? Words spreading around about me, none of it rumor. All truth, very big facts. Very large caliber on very small gaps. Compact pistols, ladders, and all that. About to throw the switch in the Nina for rapid fire. Got the 5.7 equipped with the boom shakalaka, equipped with the rim rocker. We ain't really got beef, yeah, Ramak would have been shot to the best rhymer since Pac and Big Papa, Big Llama, Big Juice, I'm Big Jamba. Quarter tank of gas, I ride like a big timer. No informer, no sweat, not inside of my conglomerate, wreck like King Konga. No Asian pun me, no chink in armor. Remain calm throughout pain that bring drama. Stay focused on things that bring commas. Took all pressure, applied and made diamonds. Stayed true, kept shit pure, my name honored. Paid all dues and debts and kept promise. Make sure you show respect, pay homage that I'm One West bred, One West vetted, One West pumping through my blood, don't forget it. One West in my brain, One West in my heart, One West when I'm finished, One West when I start. I said I've been One West bred, One West vetted, One West pumping through my blood, don't forget it. One West in my brain, One West in my heart, One West when I'm finished, One West when I start. I'm the hottest on the market, don't make me start it. I'ma pull up in a Spider-Man and Peter Parker. I remember days was trapping out the apartment. Now One West about put me up in a starship. About to fly the friendly skies in this bitch. Spit the truth on the corners, I lie a little bit. I'm a stand-up nigga, I die before I switch. Down, no we up, I'm cool with who I with. I'ma be war the king and stay dangerous. Hold down the biz and fam, remain blameless. Now rappers drippy with styles we made famous. First with studs and spikes in any city. Designing charge a stack for shit that can't fit me. Had fringes on my coattail way before Jimmy. Funny how the general ain't even see a penny. Better show respect, get smoked like a chimney. Keep my name out your mouth, don't even think it. Send a real Smith at y'all, no Jada Pinkett. Both ball heads, my grain $1.50. Lost my man to the game, that pain that stuck with me. Had to find a cheat code to the street though. Cause them niggas getting fouled, shoot you like a free throw. Keep spitting acid like a Mino. And the nigga be the nicest with a mean flow. Try to ride my wave, you gon' need a speedboat. I'm hot like 100 degrees in a peacoat. Scarf in the sweater, I embark every letter. It's UPK, not a part, but together. Homie, I've been One West bred, One West vetted, One West pumping through my blood, don't forget it. One West in my brain, One West in my heart. One West when I'm finished, One West when I start. One West bred, One West vetted, One West pumping through my blood, don't forget it. One West in my brain, One West in my heart.
Shalom is real. Shalom is real. Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Barakathon. To the brothers watching. Yahweh Shemalathon by Shem Yahweh Shah. To the sisters watching. This is the ISUPK, started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. And we teach the truth about this Bible. The truth being that so-called Black, Hispanic, North American Indian, people from the Caribbean, Central and South America, we are the chosen people of God, the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, and our oppressors are dealt with the Bible speaks of. Now you tuned in, priest, officer of 1,000, Havamar, ISUPK, Kentucky, man. And tonight This is our Monday night history class. But before we get off into it, I want to be sure to invite all of y'all to our weekly content, ISUPK Kentucky, on all platforms. Monday night, of course, you got the history class. Tuesday night, Brotherhood class, 7 p.m., taught by Officer of 1,000. I'm a Wonga boy. And Wednesday night, you got the podcast, the baddest podcast around. Cry Out, Spare Not podcast, hosted by Officers of 1,000. I'm a Wonga boy and ISUPK. And come in here, these two priests of the Lord in the UPK and the Commander General Yohana give the biblical breakdowns, the biblical solutions to all the viral videos going across the internet. And Saturday morning, we got the Sabbath service. So Monday night history class, Tuesday night brotherhood class, Wednesday night the podcast, and Saturday morning Sabbath service. So like we got a little bit of technical difficulty, but notice we finna rock this thing out. So like I said, Monday night history class, every Monday, 9 p.m., Lord willing. Tuesday night brotherhood class, Wednesday night the podcast, and Saturday morning Sabbath service. Now, tonight, it's lucky. Y'all gonna have to bear with me just a minute. I see Satan ain't trying to let this come out tonight. They know I got dropped. Satan know I got dropped. Let's see where we at with it. All right, what we doing? God damn. All right, it's lucky, y'all. So, where was I? Like I said, Monday night, Lord willing, 9 p.m. history class, Tuesday night brotherhood class, Wednesday night the podcast, Saturday morning Sabbath service. We do got the Lord's Passover coming up. The ISUPK and the Commander General Yohana will be in the building. All right, August 4th, Houston, Texas. We will be getting it on. All right, Blacks, Hispanics, and North American Indians are commanded to be there. All right, but tonight we finna rock this thing out. Monday night history class, and the topic of tonight's class, we finna talk about the origin of Black History Month. All right, I'm finna give y'all the origin of Black History Month, where it comes from, who started it, why they started it, and why it's bullshit. And then I'm finna give you some real history. All right, we finna talk about Black History Month, the person that started it, who he was, and what it was started for. And then I'm finna give you some real history. All right, I'm finna give y'all some real Black and Indigenous history. All right, so ISUPK Kentucky, under Commander General Yohana, Monday night history class. We're gonna talk about Black History Month and Indian Territory. All right, Black History Month and Indian Territory. Why? Because Indian Territory, or what became Oklahoma, at one point was the blackest state in the United States. All right, Indian Territory that became Oklahoma, 1907, at one point was the blackest state in the United States. Today, it's like 74% white. And we're going to talk about what happened. So we're finna get into Black History Month We finna talk about Indian territory. Again, this is work you can't get nowhere else. You can't get this nowhere else besides ISUPK under Commander General Yohana. Let's work. All right. The founder of Black History Month was a historian named Carter G. Woodson. All right. If you're not familiar, Carter G. Woodson was the person that started Black History Month. All right. Now, Carter G. Woodson was a Pan-African. All right. He came up in that era of Pan-Africanism. All right. Carter G. Woodson, known as the father of Black history and the father of Black History Month. All right. So when you think Black history, you have to know the name Carter G. Woodson. All right. Carter G. Woodson is the father of Black history and the founder of Black History Month. The problem is he was a Boule member. All right. Sigma Pi Phi, also known as the Boule, has membership including W.E.B. Du Bois, Martin Luther King Jr., Thurgood Marshall, and Carter G. Woodson. All right. The Boule is the number one Black Greek organization. It is the number one, what you would call a Black secret society. And we finna get into what their role is. All right. But Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black history, the creator of Black History Month, was a member of the Boule or a member of Sigma Pi Phi. And again, this is the top Black elite, Black Greek letter organization, and Black secret society. And we finna talk about what their role is in upholding white supremacy. And all of this Pan-Africanism, all right, all of them have, we'll just say, a troubled history. All right, people like John Henry Clark that worked with the CIA. All right, people like Leonard Jeffries, who was an American Indian. How does an American Indian turn Pan-African? All right, Asa Hilliard, Jacob Carruthers, who were also Boule members. All right, Dr. Ben, who was a fraud. Dr. Ben was a fraud who lied about all of his credentials. All right, Melena Karanga, who was a fucking Fed, worked for the FBI. All right, all of these people involved in so-called Black history and Pan-Africanism and African studies. All right, all of these people have, I guess, what I would call a troubled background. All right. Now, Asa Hilliard is another member of the Boule, and also is what they would call a giant in Pan-Africanism. So all of this Pan-African talk, all of this back to Africa talk, all right, all of this Black history talk, all right, all of it comes from people that have a relationship with an organization called Sigma Pi Phi, also known as the Boule. Now, they are an influential elite fraternity of Black men who swear an oath to protect the white supremacist power structure. Because of their ambition, they have an indifference to their own people and have agreed to maintain the status quo. The people that you look up to, that you would expect to tell you, have sworn an oath that they never will. All right. So Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black history, the creator of Black History Month, swore an oath to protect the white supremacist power structure. Now, how does that work? All right, the father of Black history, the creator of Black History Month, Carter G. Woodson, was a Boule member and swore an oath to protect the white supremacist power structure. Do you really think you're going to get the real history of Black and indigenous people from these folks? You really think you're going to get the real history of Black and indigenous people from people like Carter G. Woodson, from people like Dr. Ben, Asa Hilliard, Melena Karanga? right? You're not finna get the truth. You're not finna get the real history of Black and Indigenous people from these folks. They swore an oath to protect the white supremacist power structure. And they took a bag to do it. They took a bag to maintain the status quo. They took a bag to be the buffer class between white folks and the rest of us. And these are the people you expect to get the real truth of our people from? Let's work. Let's drop that for a second. Let's go into the Bible real quick. Go into the Bible real quick. 2 Maccabees in the Apocrypha, chapter 4, verse 15. Not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians, best of all. All right, 2 Maccabees 4 and 15 in the Apocrypha. Not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians, best of all. This is what men like Carter G. Woodson did. All right, not setting by the honor of his fathers, of his forefathers, of his family, of his ancestors, but he preferred the glory of the Greeks. He preferred the customs of the Greeks. So he joined what's called a Black Greek letter organization like Sigma Pi Phi, also known as the Boule. And all of our so-called leaders do it. Martin Luther King Jr. was a member. All right, people like Asa Hilliard remembers. You got people like Leonard Jeffries, who grew up Indian and somehow turned Pan-African. And he worked with Alex Haley on that fake-ass book Roots that was plagiarized from two different white folks. Because these people don't honor their fathers. They prefer the glory of the best of all. So now that we got a quick rundown on the truth about Black History Month, let's get into Indian territory. Like I said, Oklahoma at one point was the blackest state in the United States. Oklahoma at one point was the blackest state in the United States, but something happened. Something happened. All right, Oklahoma, before it got statehood in 1907, used to be called Indian Territory. Now, it goes back to the Seminole Wars. All right, Seminole Wars 1816, 1858, fought the United States Army in an attempt to resist relocation to the West. Indian Removal Act, also known as the Trail of Tears, beginning in 1830, meant the dispersal of their people to Oklahoma, Mexico, and Texas. All right, Seminole Scouts or Indian Scouts were hardly distinguishable racially from the soldiers of the U.S. colored troops and cavalry regiments with whom they frequently served and with whom they shared distinctive cultural traits of Black folks in the South. All right, so we're talking about the Indian removal. We're talking about the forced removal of Seminoles, and we're going to talk about the other so-called civilized tribes too. All right, there were 5 civilized tribes that went on this Trail of Tears, and the Seminole were one of them. And this says that the Seminoles were hardly distinguishable from Black folks in the South. So we got an Indian scout on the left. That's a brother named Benjamin July, Seminole Scout Benjamin July. And here's a brother from the U.S. colored troops. Now, something else about Indian culture in the South. The food culture is the same. All right. Chickasaw Nation in Oklahoma, there was a self-published cookbook. The grits, the cornbread, the sweet potato pie, the chicken, and dumplings look just like a replica of my mother-in-law's family recipes in South Alabama. All right. American Indians in the South, all right, share the same culture as Black Southerners. All right. American Indians in the South share the same culture as Black Southerners. All right. A new theory of origins of American Indians, which places Negroes as their ancestors. All right, according to the New York Times, all right, Professor Roland Dixon of Harvard, before the American Association for the Advancement of Science, says that American Indians have black folks as ancestors. Let's work. Like I said, this is work you're not going to get nowhere else besides the UPK and the Commander General. So, like I said, there were 5 groups that were known as the 5 civilized tribes that went under George Washington's so-called civilization plan. We have the Seminole, the Choctaw, the Creek, the Chickasaw, and the Cherokee. All right, 1830, the Choctaw went to Oklahoma on the Trail of Tears. 1830, the Cherokee were forced to leave their homes and move to Oklahoma. 800-mile journey became known as the Trail of Tears. And Andrew Jackson's Indian Removal Act of 1830 required the Chickasaw, along with all other Eastern American Indian tribes that moved into Western Territory, the Chickasaw, the last tribe to withdraw into Oklahoma Territory. So we have all of the Indians of the South, the Seminole, the Chickasaw, the Creek, the Choctaw, and the Cherokee. All of your southern tribes ended up being forcefully relocated into Oklahoma. All right, the plan was to depopulate the South so that the United States could move into the South and control the resources. All right, the resources have always been in the South, and they've always known it. They've always known it. That's the reason that the United States wanted to depopulate the Indian tribes out of the South, and that was also the reason for the Great Migration of Black Southerners to leave the southern states, to move into these Midwestern cities and these cities along the Eastern Seaboard. All right, Chicago, Detroit, DC, New York, New Jersey. All right, all of this was to depopulate the South so the U.S. could move in and control the resources. All right, so you have your 5 civilized tribes being forced into Oklahoma. All right, this act also had the effect of reclassifying American Indians as Negroes. All right, this act also had the effect of reclassifying American Indians as Negroes, making them vulnerable to discrimination and violence in the South. All right, Tulsa's origin. All right, now Tulsa is where you get Black Wall Street. All right, Tulsa, Oklahoma is where you get Black Wall Street. But Tulsa began with the removal of Creek Indians from their ancestral homes in Georgia and Alabama. Arriving in 1833, the Creek Indians began building the city of Tulsa after negotiations with the Cherokee over boundaries. All right, the Creek Indians, after the Creeks were moved out of Alabama and Georgia, moved into what would later become Oklahoma, 1833, and built the city of Tulsa. All right, you would have no Tulsa, Oklahoma. You would have no Black Wall Street without Creek Indians leaving Alabama and ending up in Oklahoma in 1833. Let's work. All right, Oklahoma, home to more historically all-Black towns than any other state. Like I said, at one point, Oklahoma was the blackest state in the United States. It's lucky. I guess they said we cooking too much right now. Salaki, give me just a minute. Yeah, I guess the lab said we was cooking a little. They said we was cooking a little too much. They said we was cooking a little bit too much. Pay your Passover fee. $200 per person. Pay your Passover fee. All right, let's get this back up. All right, like I said, at one point, Oklahoma was the blackest state in the United States. Did you know Oklahoma was destined to be a black state? Freedmen created more than 50 all-black towns and settlements in Indian Territory between 1865 and 1920. Like I said before, Oklahoma becomes a state in 1907. It was known as Indian Territory. And Indian Territory became the home of the so-called 5 civilized tribes: the Seminole, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Creek, and the Cherokee. If you have any of these groups in your ancestry, this is going to be an important class for you. All right. If you have Seminole, Creek, Chickasaw, Choctaw, or Cherokee in your ancestry, in your family tree, you might want to be taking notes right now. All right. Real talk. You might want to be taking notes right now. All right. So freedmen created more than 50 all-black towns in Indian Territory between 1865 and 1920. Now, this is important. All right. It says freedmen created 50 black towns in Indian Territory between 1865 and 1920. Keep that 1865. Keep that 1865 in your memory bank. All right. Among the places of interest, Rentersville, founded in 1903 as a community. This community is one of more than 50 all-black towns founded in Oklahoma and one of 13 existing today. All right, Muskogee, the Indian name, was a black town established in 1872 as a railroad town which ran through Missouri, Kansas, and Texas and was traveled by hundreds of families and freighters. All right, a town called Muskogee, a black town called Muskogee, established 1872. That's going to be important. When you look at the history of Honey Springs, you will find this in Indian Territory. There were more than 107 documented hostile encounters. Cherokee and Creek fought on both sides with an estimate of 9,000 men involved. Now, when it's talking about hostile encounters, remember the 5 civilized tribes weren't known as hostiles. All right, when it's talking about hostiles, it's talking about your so-called Plains Indians. It's talking about people like your Apache, your Comanche, your people like this. All right. Your Creek and your Cherokee were known as 2 of the 5 civilized tribes. All right. Your hostile Indians were known as your so-called Plains Indians. All right. All right. Also of interest is the first Kansas Colored Volunteers that later on became the U.S. Colored Troops. I would also draw your attention that the first cowboys were black men, free and freedmen in Oklahoma, driving cattle from Fort Worth, Texas to Kansas City. All right. So coming out of Indian Territory, we have black men, freed and freedmen, were your first cowboys. All right. You also have your Kansas Colored Volunteers, which later on became the U.S. Colored Troops. And the U.S. Colored Troops actually won the Civil War. That's right. Between the late 1800s and early 1900s, 50 all-black towns were established. These towns were founded by black American settlers who pooled resources to purchase land and create self-sustaining communities. In fact, as early as the mid-19th century and through the turn of the 20th, black Americans settled over 20 towns throughout Oklahoma, more than any other U.S. state. Like I said, Oklahoma used to be the blackest state in the United States. But these were folks that were coming out of Indian Territory. All right, I want you to keep that in mind. These were folks that were coming out of Indian Territory. All right, the founders of these towns aimed to create spaces where black Americans could live free from racial discrimination, establish businesses, own property, and govern themselves. These towns became hubs for entrepreneurship, education, and culture. When we think of Oklahoma, we tend to think of the oil boom or the birth of Western swing music. But one unique feature of the state is its large number of historical all-black towns. All right, most Oklahomans know the history behind Tulsa. All right, the oil capital of the world. Major oil strikes were made before the surrounding territory was even granted statehood. So again, Oklahoma becomes a state in 1907. Prior to that, it was known as Indian Territory. And in this Indian Territory, at one time was the blackest area in what you would call the continental United States. All right, 1884, the Cherokee Nation passed a law permitting the organization of a company for the purpose of finding petroleum, thus increasing the revenue for the Cherokee. Over the next 2 decades, Indian Territory would produce more wealth than all of the American gold rushes combined. All right, in a 20-year period, the oil discovered in Indian Territory would produce more wealth than all of the American gold rushes combined. So they tried to push us out of the South. They tried to push us out of our homelands down south, our homelands in Florida, our homelands in Georgia and Alabama, our homelands in Mississippi. And we just got it popping in Oklahoma. We just got it popping in Oklahoma. Whatever we touch turns to gold. Whatever we touch turns to gold. Why? Because we're the Lord's chosen people. We're the chosen people of God. And we the chosen people of God, everything you touch is going to turn to gold. All right, Tulsa, like I said, was a Creek settlement. Got a huge boost when the nearby Glenpool oil field was discovered in the early part of that century. Oil barons gave the town its Art Deco stamp and left behind priceless legacies of art and architecture. Like I said, Tulsa was originally built by Creek Indians. The city of Tulsa, where you're going to find Black Wall Street come out of, was built by Creek Indians. All right, all black towns of Oklahoma represent a unique chapter in American history. Nowhere else, neither in the deep south or the far west, does so many black American men and women come together to create, occupy, and govern their own communities. Like I said, Indian Territory, I keep saying this, Indian Territory was the blackest area in the country. Indian Territory, which later became Oklahoma, was the blackest area in the country. All right, 1865 to 1920, Black Americans created 50 identifiable towns, settlements, some of short duration, and some still existing at the beginning of the 21st century. Again, 1865 to 1920. We read about a town called Muskogee, an Indian name that was started in 1872. This is what's important. 1 year after the April 1889, the Oklahoma land rush, the Indian Territory population was 258,657. Subsequent rushes saw the territory's population grow. This event marked the first time non-indigenous people were allowed to settle in what would later become Oklahoma. So let me ask you something. If 1889 was the first time non-Indians show up in Oklahoma, who were these black folks established in cities in 1865? Let me ask this question again. The first time you see non-Indians in Oklahoma was 1889. The first time you see non-Indians in Oklahoma was 1889. So who are these black folks building cities in 1865? Who are these black folks that built the city of Muskogee in 1872? Is it starting to click yet? Is it starting to click? Maybe you might want to believe Big Mama when she said her grandma was Cherokee. Maybe you might want to believe Big Mama when she says her grandma was Seminole. You might want to believe it. Let's work. 1835 treaty between Cherokee and Osage Indians created Cherokee Outlet. Reservations existed until 1904 when the lands were allotted and added to Noble County. Cherokee Outlet is that northern part of Oklahoma. The Cherokee Outlet became a part of Oklahoma Territory and was divided into counties after 1893 opening of Cherokee Outlet for settlement by non-Indians. Again, Cherokee Outlet was that northern part of Oklahoma. And you don't see non-Indians there until 1893. You don't see non-Indians in that northern part of Oklahoma until 1893. Again, so who are these black folks building communities in the 1860s, 1870s, 1880s, 1890s? Like I said, if Big Mama said her grandma was Creek or Cherokee or Choctaw or Chickasaw, you might want to believe it. You might want to believe it. Let's work. All right, the settlement of Oklahoma's all-black town is inextricably tied to the Trail of Tears, the forced removal of American Indian tribes from the southeastern part of the country into Indian territory. Oklahoma's all-black towns are tied to the Trail of Tears, the forced removal of American Indians from the south, and the forced removal into Indian territory that became Oklahoma in 1907. Freedmen of the 5 civilized tribes went to Indian territory. All black towns grew in Indian territory after the Civil War. Freedmen are American Indians. All right. The aim of this pictorial is to demonstrate that the domestic slave trade had reduced ethnic Native Americans to African slaves. All right. The domestic slave trade reduced ethnic American Indians to African slaves for sale, and that they too had been freed and or received benefit from emancipation. By its effect upon the Indian nations to abolish slavery, by the subsequent 1866 treaties, and allowed tribal people from Texas and Oklahoma to rejoin family groups. All right. People that were in bondage, let's say to the Cherokee, who held people in bondage, who held people in slavery, the Chickasaw, who were used as slave catchers, in a domestic slave trade, meaning they were capturing other American Indians to sell into slavery, to the Cherokee, to the Choctaw. All right, these people became known as Africans. These people became known as freedmen. Let's work. So you had Adam Grayson, a Creek freedman. All right, Morris Shepherd, Carrie Hall, Chickasaw free woman. So what happened is black tribal members, so-called black tribal members, which would just be darker skinned Indians. All right, black tribal members or darker skinned American Indians were classified as freedmen by the Dawes Commission. All right, classified as freedmen by the Dawes Commission. All of this was being done around the same time you start to see non-Indians come into Indian territory. So what happened is you have white folks that were paying $5 to come on these Dawes rolls. At the same time, you have the Dawes Commission falsely labeling black tribal members as freedmen. At the same time that you have white folks paying $5 to get on these Indian rolls to benefit from the allotment, you have black tribal members that were being labeled as freedmen. And that's why you still have issues today with black tribal members whose great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, great-great-great-grandparents being labeled freedmen and are still struggling today to receive citizenship in some of these governments today. You still have people like the Cherokee trying to deny citizenship to black tribal members because their ancestors were falsely labeled as freedmen. Like I said, you don't have the first non-Indian come into Oklahoma until 1889. If you don't have the first non-Indian coming into Oklahoma until 1889, then who were these black folks that were building these black towns in the 1860s? Who were these black folks that built the town of Muskogee, a Creek name, an Indian name? Who were these black folks that built the city of Muskogee in 1872? If the first non-Indian doesn't step foot in Oklahoma until 1889. Like I said, this is work you're not finna get nowhere else besides the UPK and the Commander General Rehan. Let's work. All right, you got people like B.C. Franklin, a Choctaw tribal member who later became a prominent Tulsa attorney. Stands with associates outside his law office in Oklahoma, 1910. All right, B.C. Franklin, Choctaw tribal member, became a prominent Tulsa attorney. Again, we read that Tulsa was started by Creek Indians. Tulsa was started by Creek Indians. All right, after emancipation, freedmen who had followed the 5 civilized tribes on the Trail of Tears could now claim land, migrated westward through Kansas in the 1870s and 1880s, and then blazed Gurley's path through Oklahoma Territory in the 1890s, meaning that O.W. Gurley, the founder of Black Wall Street, he just when he heard about the oil in Indian Territory, what he did was follow the path that these so-called Indian freedmen had when land was being claimed in Indian Territory. All right, O.W. Gurley, the person that founded Black Wall Street, he followed the path of these so-called freedmen who were claiming land in Indian Territory after 1865. All right, entrepreneurs in these communities started every imaginable kind of business, including newspapers, and advertised throughout the South for settlers. All right, O.W. Gurley was once one of the wealthiest black men and founder of the Greenwood District of Tulsa, Oklahoma, which became known as Black Wall Street. All right, 1893, 25-year-old entrepreneur joined the Cherokee Outlet opening. Again, Cherokee Outlet was that northern part of Oklahoma, running 50 miles before finally stopping at a plot of prairie grass. Standing on a plot of land with Emma, he staked his claim that would soon become Perry, Oklahoma, one of the many towns advertised to blacks in the new territory. Hearing about the oil, he sold his store and moved 80 miles to Tulsa in 1905. He bought a large tract of land on the north side. On a barren plot, he started to map out a city of upperly mobile blacks who, much like himself, were looking for opportunity. And now you're going to start to see Black American settlers come in from other parts of the United States, mainly out of the South. All right, 1889 brought more Black American settlers to the unsigned lands that now made up the state of Oklahoma. Remember, 1889 was the first time you see non-Indians come into Oklahoma. All right, 1889 brought more black settlers to the unassigned lands that now make up the state of Oklahoma. These black folks were coming from other parts of the U.S., mainly out of the Old South. All right, 1889 opened yet more free land to non-Indian settlement. Black Americans from the Old South rushed to newly created Oklahoma. E.P. McCobb, a former state auditor for Kansas, helped found Langston and encourage African Americans to settle in an all-black town. To further his cause, McCobb established a Langston City Herald and circulated it, often by means of traveling agents throughout the South. McCobb opened that his tactics would create an African American political power block in Oklahoma Territory. Here's E.P. McCobb. Other Black American leaders had a vision for an all-black state. Although this dream was never realized, many all-black communities sprouted and flourished in the rich topsoil of the new territory, even after statehood in 1907. In those towns, Black Americans lived free from prejudice and brutality found in other racially mixed communities of the Midwest and the South. Now, the reason it says Midwest is because We're not told this growing up in the public school system, but Jim Crow existed all across the United States. Jim Crow existed all across the United States. The first state to officially enforce segregation was Maryland. I've got old pictures of whites only restaurants, whites only doors, whites only restrooms in places like Detroit and Philly. All right, Black Americans in Oklahoma and Indian Territory would create their own communities for many reasons. To escape from discrimination and abuse would be a driving factor. All Black settlements offered the advantage of being able to depend on neighbors for financial assistance and having open markets for crops. Arthur Tolson, the pioneer historian of Blacks in Oklahoma, asserts that many Black Americans turned to ideologies of economic advancement, self-help, and racial solidarity. All right, this is where, if you want to talk about real Black history, all right, look at Oklahoma. If you want to look at real Black history, real economic advancement, real racial solidarity, you want to go to the late 1800s and you want to look into Oklahoma, look into Indian Territory. It's not going to come from these fake Pan-African leaders. It's not going to come from these boule sellouts. All right, if you want to look to real Black history, all right, look into Oklahoma, study Oklahoma. Like I said, at one point, it was the blackest state in the U.S. Let's work. All right, Black towns in Indian Territory. At one point, there was over 50. And here's a few that exist today. And the largest and most renowned of these is Boley, Oklahoma. All right, for several decades, all Black towns provided their residents with lives free of the irregular racial brutality and prejudice often experienced by Blacks living in racially mixed communities, and residents could depend and support each other. Black-owned farms, schools, and businesses took root. Unfortunately, after statehood in 1907, the Oklahoma State Legislature passed a series of statutes that would become known as Jim Crow, essentially enforcing racial segregation and in some cases violence. But here's what would happen. All right, segregation laws are gone into effect after Oklahoma becomes a state in 1907. This paved the way for Greenwood to become an insular hub for the Black dollar to circulate. Many of the Black residents earned and spent their money entirely within the confines of Greenwood. Now, Greenwood was known as Black Wall Street. All right, because of segregation, after Oklahoma becomes a state in 1907, this paved the way for Black Street to become a hub for the Black dollar to circulate. Black residents earned and spent their entire paycheck within the confines of Black Wall Street. The passage of Jim Crow laws immediately after statehood in 1907 caused Black Americans to become disillusioned with the infant state. White distrust also limited the growth of all Black towns. As early as 1911, whites in Opusky County attempted to block further immigration and to force Black Americans in the mix with racially segregated communities incapable of self-support. You always have jealous white folks trying to sabotage something. You always have jealous white folks trying to sabotage something because they know that if we're left alone and we serve the Lord, everything we touch is going to turn to gold. All right, O.W. Gurley, as he expected, Black Wall Street became a beacon of wealth, education, and advancement, rivaling areas like New York, Chicago, and Atlanta. At one point, Tulsa, that was built by Creek Indians, became a beacon of wealth, education, and advancement, rivaling areas of New York, Chicago, and Atlanta. 1920, walk through Black Wall Street meant traversing more than 35 bustling city blocks, with the focus being at the intersection of Greenwood and Archer. Acme Brick Company. See, I thought this was just in cartoons. I thought Acme Bricks was just in cartoons. Supplied building materials for townhouses, apartments, and theaters, and hotels that line the streets. By 1910, black bricklayers had their own trade union called the Hard Carriers Local 199, and entrepreneurs began to emerge. John Williams and his wife built a confectionery store called the Dreamland and the opulent Dreamland Theater. All right, the only color theater in the city. Simon Berry built a private transportation with a network of Model T Fords and buses, which transported residents throughout Greenwood all the way to downtown Tulsa. Now, how many of these do you think was on the street in 1910? That's how you knew they was having that bag. That's how you know they was getting to that bag. How many of these do you think was out there on the street in 1910? All right, though the population was relatively small, Black Wall Street had two papers, including the Tulsa Star, founded by A.J. Smitherman, pool halls, auto repair shops, beauty parlors, grocery stores, barbershops, funeral homes, YMCAs, roller skating rinks, hospitals, and a post office. It was calculated that every dollar spent in Greenwood circulated the black economy nearly 30 times as businesses thrive. Every dollar spent in Black Wall Street circulated the black economy 30 times. Is A.J. Smitherman. Along with this massive prosperity, the community was invested in houses of worship and schools. By 1920, Black Wall Street had a handful of churches. Most notable, the Mount Zion Baptist Church, 1909. The district had its own high school named after Booker T. Washington. So important was education in Greenwood that teachers were amongst the highest paid workers. Many had their own Steinway pianos in their apartments, while the school's principal, E.W. Woods, lived in a 6-bedroom townhouse. Here's E.W. Woods. June 1st, 1918, J.B. Stratford, another mogul, opened a 54-room hotel, Stratford Hotel, 301 North Greenwood Avenue. It was the largest black-owned hotel in Oklahoma. All right, June 1st, 1918, J.B. Stratford opened a 54-room hotel. It was the largest black-owned hotel in the state of Oklahoma. The Stratford had a dining hall, a gambling room, a saloon, a large hall for events. By 1920, Stratford had become the richest man in Tulsa. Here's J.B. Stratford. All right, Stratford Hotel, Tulsa, Oklahoma. All right, now, like I said, it's always jealous white folks and sellouts. This is going to get in the way. All right, violence exploded in Tulsa, May 30th, 1921, when a black shoeshine man was falsely accused of sexually harassing a white woman. May 30th, 1921, a black man was falsely accused of sexually assaulting a white woman. All right, brothers, if y'all still out here messing with white women, you got to be a goddamn fool. All right, black and Hispanic men, American Indian men, if y'all still out here messing with white women, y'all must be goddamn fools. Y'all must be out y'all goddamn mind. All right, the next of the story was prominently featured in the White Tulsa Tribune. A large mob formed around the jail in Tulsa where Rowland was being held as rumors of a potential lynching circulated through Greenwood. By the early morning of June 1st, an armed white mob had already started burning Greenwood to the ground. By 5 a.m., the mob began an assault on Black Wall Street. Some eyewitnesses and accounts from the 2001 Commission to Study the Tulsa Race Riot reported that kerosene bombs were dropped from airplanes to demolish buildings. It was reported that kerosene bombs were dropped from airplanes to demolish buildings. And when the assault was over, As many as 50 whites and 200 blacks were dead, and more than 35 square blocks had been destroyed. Those who survived the riot were rounded up by the National Guard and put into internment camps for weeks and months. Greenwood's total property loss would be about $50 million in today's money. And after the destruction, surviving citizens were rounded up and sent to prison camps. These were the victims. Most of the bodies were never recovered, presumed to have been buried in a mass grave that has never been located. And no one was ever prosecuted or punished for the biggest racial massacre in American history. $50 million in property damage. Kerosene bombs dropped from airplanes. Survivors, victims were rounded up and put in the internment camps. And nobody was ever prosecuted for the biggest racial massacre in American history. Look, the white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. With nothing left, O.W. Gurley left for L.A., where he died in 1935 with little indication of wealth. Now, like I said, you have jealous white folks that are always going to be in the mix, along with their sellouts. All right, there was an organization called the African Blood Brotherhood that also worked with Marcus Garvey's UNIA, and they're believed by authorities in Tulsa to have fomented the race riot in that city. So not only do you have jealous white folks, white supremacists that always get in the way, but you always have sellouts that's going to rock with them too. You're going to have sellouts that rock with them too. All right, the 1930s, many railroads failed, isolating a number of rural towns in Oklahoma and cutting them off from their market. As a result, many black towns simply couldn't survive. Today, only 13 black towns exist, but their importance in Oklahoma's history remains. All right. Now, before we get out of here, there was a movie came out a little while ago about a woman named Sarah Rector. Now, Sarah Rector, all right, due to birthright as a grandchild of Creek Indians, she received an allotment of land. It was discovered to be oil rich and produced over $300, equivalent to over $10,000 in today's money per day, and she was known as the richest colored girl in the world. All right, the land that she grew up on, the land that she was allotted, produced $10,000 a day. All right, this little girl, the land she was allotted, because her grandparents were Creek Indians, produced $10,000 a day. Her parents were Joseph Rector and Rose Jackson. As we see, her mother was a Creek Indian, enrolled 1898. Then her father, Joseph Rector. Her father, Joseph Rector, born 1880, Indian Territory. Here's his Creek Nation enrollment card. And again, we're going to finish this off. Source, Bureau of American Ethnology. A considerable proportion of the blood of Southern Negroes is unquestionably Indian. According to the Bureau of American Ethnology, a considerable proportion of the blood of Southern blacks is unquestionably Indian. Like I said earlier, if Big Mama said her grandma was Seminole or Creek or Cherokee or Choctaw, you might want to believe it. So look, appreciate y'all hanging out with me, man, soaking up some of this game. For those of y'all tuned in to the live, man, I appreciate y'all. And if y'all ain't got my book, appreciate y'all. Anybody that's got my book, anybody that put their order in, anybody that's got a copy, Like I said, I appreciate y'all. All right. Like I said, if you have American Indian heritage, especially if you're from the South, this is going to be one of the most important books you're ever going to want to read. So for those of you that's got y'all copy, I appreciate y'all for supporting your brother, man. And for those that ain't got y'all copy, I don't know what y'all doing. But with that, we're going to go ahead and end it. We'll do one courtesy salute. Shalom. Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah Barakatham. Yahweh Shemal Atham B'Shem Yahweh Shah. With that, class is dismissed.
Go to jail when he speaks. Absolutely. Should a robber pay back the money he robbed? Absolutely. So why shouldn't the white man pay for what he did? That's right. One day you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog.
Was never expected to grow. Just obstacle set in the road. That a result of me selling my soul. The story I'm telling is cold, but yet it's what everyone knows. The white man's the devil is known. America was never our home. Only a place of captivity, safe facility, hating, disfigure me. They claim that I'm lazy, be killing me. Maybe the slavery draining my energy. 400 years and counting. The trail of my tears is countless. Main fact that I'm here is astounding, but I can't wait till this shit is surrounded. Ready to tangle my king and the angels, be ready to rap. Crack in the sky, nuclear missiles, make it official. I'm capturing every cracker surviving. Put them all in chains where they need to be. Slavery for me. And let the whole world see that with them in the cage is safer in the streets. Put the dog on a leash. Get resolved for the beast. 144, get the ruler show, we could all be at peace. As soon as the trumpets are sound, your kingdom we busting it down. The only way justice is found, the time for your judgment is now.
You'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog.
Ain't no remorse in my blood slim. It won't be no compromise. Now it's time to feed the worms. Watch his body turn to flies. I clutch iron while you trust the lies. The next Glock I buy gon' be Gen 5. I get it customized. And sending shots off like farewell. Praying payback come back around like a carousel. Still remember your Honda's words ringing in my head like bells. Said you in this body, you fit the Lord, fuck the cartel. Triangle choke, apply pressure to the game like I did Vondale. Payback's a bitch in a dress. She a body served cold. I just hope they making oxtail. Glock fresh out the box, I swear it got that new car smell. Made myself a target in the world of mad shooters. There was design 5 for our babies to pass through. In the day of our king's reign, I'll be overzealous. They bought my jealous, I bought brand new pair of bellums.
You'll see just how